Well, stakeholder engagement in global change research and global change is of course crucial because global change affects all of us and it affects most or maybe all aspects of our lives. So, well, first of all, if we try to define global change a little bit here, it's the interlinked large-scale changes that are happening in environment and societies that interact with each other and are connected in many ways. So, for instance, climate is changing, biodiversity is changing, people's careers are changing, industries are changing, social structures are changing, and they are all interacting with each other. So what this means is that we can no longer look at problems in an isolated manner. Take one problem and try to fix that, then take the next one. We have to look at them in a very holistic way. And that's really challenging. It's difficult to get even scientists necessarily to understand that this is the case nowadays. So you can imagine how much more difficult it is to produce solutions that would be acceptable and adopted by stakeholders or citizens or the general public if they don't understand what's going on and what the reasoning is behind these issues. So we definitely need citizens and city planners and government officials, industries, all different kinds of groups in society to understand the complexities of global change and the complexities of the solutions and what they need to do. So the best way perhaps to do this is to involve them in the actual research from the beginning. So this would give them some ownership and would give them the understanding that is necessary for them to accept the solutions and then finally to adopt them.
Well, I see that there would be many benefits if research would engage more deeply with the stakeholders. In general, I think we should enhance the links between society and scientific community. Scientific enterprise is something that happens always in a social context. And scientific communication of those scientific results should not be this one-way process, but it should always happen in a dialogue with the society, and this would enhance the relevance and the legitimacy of the scientific enterprise. And this stakeholder engagement would benefit both the scientists and the stakeholders. Scientists would get more information and resources from the stakeholders, and the stakeholders they would be empowered by this process. They would gain access. They would understand more how the scientific process works, for example, and they would be able to also contribute to generating new knowledge. And in general, I think solution-oriented science needs this kind of stakeholder engagement because when the scientific results would be contextualized and more tailored to the needs of the stakeholders, they would become more available and more usable, and they would be adapted more easily also. So I think these are the reasons I think that we should always take the stakeholders involved.
Well, I'd say lots of different benefits, and it's all on the positive side, I must say, because in program like BONUS, the public engagement and stakeholders have been embedded to it from the word go. So basically what we want to do is ensure that our program is based on the knowledge needs of the society. And because we are a policy-driven program, our key stakeholders such as policymakers and the government officials that really need the knowledge in their daily works must be able to work with us from the beginning, and therefore they have actually inputted in total 800 and over people inputted to our strategic research agenda development. And this is used as the basis for the calls that we issue for the better future of the Baltic Sea region in protection action of the Baltic Sea. So we have initiated stakeholder platforms such as Bonus Forum, collaborated with different groups and organizations around the Baltic Sea. Based on these platforms that we have generated, and HELCOM, EU Strategy for the Baltic Sea region, and other partners have contributed tremendously. And so all in all, I think it's an integral part of the program, and certainly a huge asset to any program really to engage.
Okay, I think it has a critical role. And I think the reason why is that we have to try and avoid being seen as living contradictions. And by that I actually mean, it's no good us saying that engaging, for example, my interest is with children and young people, engaging positively with them, listening to them, giving them a voice. It's no good just saying that. We have to actually do something with what they tell us. So it's critical in the sense that children and young people see us as responsible adults who don't just say, yes, it's important that we listen to you, but we actually do something with what we're told.
Science has typically taken a reductionist perspective to the world, which means that it's focused on certain aspects of complex systems and put aside all the other parts of the system and focused on that particular issue. And this is a bit problematic in today's ever more complex world, where we face various complex systems like our everyday life, the economy, the society, nature, and these complex systems involve multiple players and are highly interdependent. And now if we take a scientific perspective to such a complex system, we can only get a certain perspective, but we tend to neglect the other perspectives. So there's a fundamental dilemma between the ever more complex world and the reductionist approach of science. This complex world also poses a problem to our governance arrangements, which were created to deal with a more simple world. Now in this more complex world, we would need more diverse and complex organizational arrangements. And
I will use my phone.
Yeah.
And in fact, we are seeing that most of the organizational trends that have emerged recently point towards increasing complexity of governance arrangements, be it networking, co-development, participatory decision-making, and so forth. They all create more complex and adaptive governance arrangements.
Well, that's a very, very critical question, because we know that when we are trying to develop solutions to social challenges, we need the contribution. We need the contribution from academic community, we need from government, we need the social community, civil society, but also industry. And of course, when we're trying to find the solutions, we have to have the contribution from all of these stakeholders. And therefore, Living Labs can provide an ideal environment for these different stakeholders to work together, find the solutions, try to examine what kind of barriers there are when we try to implement the solutions, and also they have the ability of looking at the long-term possibilities that the society can have in order to find the solutions.